Cheryl is a seasoned media executive at Living Pop-Ups with an impressive career spanning ABC, Disney, Fox, CAA, and now as the founder of Living Pop-Ups, where she integrates AI and AR technologies with entertainment and education. Throughout her career, she has been instrumental in the success of iconic shows like Sex and the City, Friends, The Simpsons, and Family Guy before transitioning into innovative technology applications. Cheryl brings a unique 360 perspective to media projects focusing on creating commercially appealing and accessible experiences that combine storytelling, technology, and meaningful data collection to deliver impactful content. Welcome to Beyond the Lens, and I'm thrilled to have you on today, Cheryl.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now, Cheryl, let me dig right in. What was that light bulb moment that made you realize traditional entertainment needed to evolve beyond passive viewing? And how did that insight lead you to create what you call purposeful AR experiences rather than just those gimmicks?
This was a while back. I remember when multiplayer video games first came out, and I thought to myself, if they actually had in-depth stories that people cared about and you cared about the characters that you were following, um, that you would make different choices. I remember pitching to a friend of mine who was running the channel, why don't we develop a show that people can use their remote as a toggle and choose which character they're going to follow and see. So I've been thinking this way, and bear in mind, I was one of the first people to do single camera comedy without a laugh track. I was one of the first people to use technology with that 70s show of 360 camera work to talk about perspective, and allow technology and the camera to say so much without saying anything. So it felt natural. It's just an intuitive thing that I have felt. What I think that is just kind of trusting, listening to what's going on, trusting my intuition and my heart, and following those things, and then finding paths to creative yeses. I would definitely say not more challenging, because I feel like people have always been afraid of change. So if I put it in the context of, like, people are uncomfortable with something new. Like, as humans, when we walk into some place new, our face shows, like, where am I? It's like the unfamiliar is already uncomfortable. So that being said, that's always been an understanding that I've had, and no, I have lack of fear of that. And AI is something that people are adapting to, but they don't realize how to use it, I think, as efficiently as they could and with far more meaning as they could. Or they're so afraid of it, of what it may do and how it can be bad. But people have said that could be bad for you, from everything from saccharin, and they used it because they thought it would be a dietary thing, and then it was bad for you. So I think it's just learning how to navigate the unknown.
I was just navigating the unknown. I was just looking at a study the other day, and it was like, I can't remember it on the top of my head, but the first time someone enters a restaurant, it's like they have a 20 to 40% chance they'll come back. Second time, it's like 45%. And then the third time they come back, it's like a 70%, like massive hike on the
Right,
third
because
time.
they're an expert at that place, right? That's why I was saying,
Yeah.
like, baby tastes banana for the first time, funny tasting. Second time, you have more relaxed face. Oh, I kind of remember this place. Same way you walk into that restaurant. Third time, you're like, let me show you around, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, and so
And
it,
as a part of the experiences for the founder and for the innovator is to get them in on the third time, right? And get
yeah.
them through that first phase of just like unfamiliarity.
Well, when it comes to technology, if you really are an inventor, you know you have to keep working at it, right? You really have to keep working at it. More mistakes happen that become the gems than really you don't land it the first time. But we are living in a culture where everybody needs to feel like they're, or they do more so. They don't have to. I'm perfect right away, or I got an A, right? Or I got an A plus, or I'm now in, an accelerated class, right? And if you don't, you feel like a failure. But yet, that's not failure. That is about evolution and growth, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And Cheryl, just sort of coming into the business now, what are you actually spending your day on these days, and what are you responsible for?
I'm responsible for developing new relationships that keep expanding the use of the technology and the use of storytelling and how you can create valuable data based on that. And understanding that we are humans who really need to remember that we are emotional beings. And even those of us who are not wired as emotionally read as possible, that we're still human and that we still are constantly growing. And with that, so are technologies, so are processes, and that you don't stop. You're not in one lane. There's no such thing as humans. When you go home, you eat, you exercise, you may or may not, you play video games, you do other things than a one thing. But I think we've been conditioned more so. So my job is to really connect big companies or big projects that show how you can create something more commercial by having it be more accessible to many.
Yeah, no, no, that's perfect. And how do you sort of measure that success? So is it through
Oh,
the acquiring of
persistence,
new clients?
persistence, like, you know, persistence. And you can tell the difference between somebody getting something and somebody not. Right? Don't you get it when you're talking to somebody, you're like, yeah, you're not relating to what I'm saying, or you are relating to what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and from that, then you can see the difference between which colleague is going to take it and play ball with you, right, or which colleague is still uncomfortable, but I've been doing it this way. So understanding there are certain paths and certain people who do understand how to expand. I mean, some of the great I've had incredible mentors that have been incredible CEOs who have taken big risks, and that's how you keep growing. Like, and realizing what the risk is and why you're taking it, right? I've heard kids pitch about their companies and what kinds of things they're going to have going on at their companies, and if they're not getting the germ and the genesis of what's the foundation to building that life house, you can't
yeah.
help.
And I love this quote, Cheryl, about from the founder of Netflix, who says all ideas are bad, and then he goes on to say that it's just the best idea is the one where you test which one's the fastest way to test which is the best idea from the worst. So that turns out to be the best idea. But really, it's about testing the quickest and the cheapest way, finding the best idea.
And listening,
Yeah,
you know, and listening and making those adjustments. They make those, once they test it, they're also fast making pivots to, okay, it started with this. Now let's remember where we started. Let's remember what we can add to it, right? I call it, I guess I don't use as many negative words as the bad idea. I would say every idea has the potential of being a good idea. So it's about, for me, using the power of positive words. I say, how do we then collectively look at yes anding, yes and this, yes and that, to make that idea the best of what it can be so that it can reach many people?
absolutely. I love that addition there. And Cheryl, what are some of the next short-term goals for the business going forward?
I would say uh, for us, it's about having as many products out there that are usable and where people feel like they are not just accomplishing something, but really gleaning and empowering information. I would say empowering and impact means so much to when you use technological tools. So it's not just, oh, people are using AI and it spits something out. Now I can just copy and paste it. Half of the people I've heard or have approached me with resumes, I'm like, did you even read what it said? It's clear you used AI. So now, and you used AI as a tool, but now how do you hone your own voice so that, that's just even one example, but it is for us about, okay, this will, this will be using this and then not just using it, making it emotionally connect. And you keep hearing me come back to the emotional quotient, um, because that's how people will understand and keep the information because it will trigger them that way.
Absolutely. In anything that you do, any product that you create, there should be some sort of emotional significance for that person, individual.
Yeah. And if it hits an individual, it'll hit 10 and so on and so on and
Yeah. And then before you know it, you've found your ideal customer profile. And then
Mhm,
that's the people you wanna speak to even more
mhm.
than just that random guy who just does not care about technology in general.
Well, it's specific. You know what? It's using the technology and then using specificity. And I think specificity,
Absolutely. And Cheryl, so with regards to with regards to creating products and then measuring success, what are some of the metrics that you look at for business growth? Is it meetings with new prospects or new clients or
real time, I would say it has to do with how we digest real time data so that when we show a customer, when we show a relationship that we're starting with, because most of them start and then become something that we're joining as a venture because they see the value. So we look at how we even collect the data and measure the data. And when they see how we approach that using AI, using AR, and other immersive technologies, it's also how we digest and spit back the real time data that I call it data for dummies. Because as a human, if you're in the Air Force and you need to make an immediate decision based on a correction that you need to make, it's how we then show you and redirect you as a human to do so. And then how you can collect for the bigger entity that information to show how we can make that impact, whether it's saving lives, whether it's like the real time decision making. Could be in medical care, it could be in Department of Defense, it could be in anything.
so to that end, tell me, Cheryl, what matters more than anything else right now to you and why? With regards to the business.
Yeah, no, it really matters to me that people understand what they're doing and that they're empowered to see that they can actually make better decisions based on critical thinking and more information and the way that the information is delivered to them. That matters to me because I feel like otherwise, I do believe that there's a generation that's just spitting out stuff and not understanding the why. And with that, there's a lot of useless stuff and a lot of people who are feeling lost and don't have to. And I feel like not only was I talking about medical care or Department of Defense, but that affects humans and their mental health. And we have globally, I hear in every country I've been to, there is more mental health problems. And I see it's the way in which we are educating, informing, and empowering people. And so that matters to me. I really care I really care.
Sure. And Cheryl, how do you bring that care into how you deal with the employees and other internal aspects of the business?
Well, I will share that even as we have been a startup who didn't have a lot of money, and whether we had 10 employees, 15 employees, 50 employees, I felt it was important to understand who everybody was, okay, what their family dynamic was. And when it came to things like the holidays, and I knew we couldn't even afford, okay, what would be a corporate business maybe bonus of like, you'll get a week's salary or whatever it was. It was about being thoughtful to who that person was. This guy, he thinks, he wants bonding time with his wife. And they didn't want to, like, their parents weren't doing well, but they did want some time away. And I got them a staycation at a hotel with a massage and dinner. And that went miles because of the thoughtfulness. Okay.
Yeah.
Another colleague, one of our other guys, had just moved to Tokyo and he wanted to go to, what's it called? Mount Fuji. And I got him a weekend with his wife who was pregnant that they couldn't go. So, and stay. So it's really understanding those experiences that meant that they felt like they were being seen and heard and taken care of. One of them had a
Yeah.
baby, right? He had a baby. We ended up sending clothes, some baby clothes for them. And like, just those kinds of things that, like, most companies don't think of. And that I've transferred that even when I worked at Fox or ABC Disney. I knew what was going on. I understand people, and I understand that it's the people that matter, that when you then treat them like they matter, they
Yeah.
really love what they do, they love the environment that they're working in, and they want to perform because they feel like they're part of a community.
Yeah. And no,
And
absolutely,
that's not
Cheryl.
manipulative. That's just sincere. You know, that's sincere. That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And just something as simple as writing a handwritten note on a card and then sending it over. Like in today's world,
Yeah.
how long, that goes a long way.
Oh, I agree with you big time. Picking up the phone and hearing somebody's voice. I have a colleague who is sick and addressing cancer. This is like a consultant that I've known for years. I reached out to him and his wife. I sent him a cozy, he's in the hospital. I sent a cozy blanket because I was like, this is something that he can have at home as well as in the hospital instead of flowers, And she called me weeping about just, it's the thoughtfulness. It's like you
Yeah.
said, that hand note, that pick up the phone, that, yeah, people don't, how many emails do you get a day?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it's a chain of an email, and then people have to see where's the most recent, I'm not sure where, right? And it's become a little detached, and we're more, as creatures, just more mushy.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cheryl, just coming back to new in terms of business development, what do you think is like the biggest challenge right now in the business? What's the biggest hurdle?
Well, it's interesting. I am a woman, okay? And I do want to address this because if you look at the statistics as a CEO, there are more companies that get funded that are male led. Even if I have the history, wisdom, and experience, a guy to an investor who's a guy, they see themselves, and sometimes they see themselves as, oh, that was me when I was younger, right? And so I do
Mm,
see, and there is still that thing, if a woman is more assertive, Okay. Or I just should say assertive. She's considered more aggressive. My approach is say what I mean what I say, and don't say it mean. So I have a philosophy that's kind, yet it still doesn't matter. I'm still a woman. So I think for our company, the hurdle when you don't have an investor that is old sage, or even doesn't have to be old, just is old sage like, and could hear big picture stuff and is comfortable in his own skin. I would say there's a lot of fear in the investment market. There's a lot of following in the investment market. You hear more about like, oh, I love this, but I'll come in at like stage C, or, XY, PDQ instead of like the beginnings. And you know, when I was an executive, I managed budgets of like 60 to 90 million dollars a year, depending on where I was and, the budget that I had. And if I heard something that was good, I was not afraid to take the risk. And a lot of them were unknown. And a lot of
Yeah.
them came in just with a good idea. But I think people don't even know how to identify those things unless somebody else has, or somebody else has validated it. So I think the hurdle is there's a lot of followers, but there's not a lot of lead investors. So I think that's where. And then as a lead investor, I do think there's a lot of people who don't, you're not just in to give money, you're in to be a part of the team. And it should be
Yeah.
collaborative to help the company grow. And so I've been very blessed. I have a couple of those that really have been wonderful at parlaying that. But I do see how, I've met with a number of them, and I've been at conferences where I've been asked to speak, and, I can see what the culture is in investment banking, you know,
Right. And there was
like
an
middle
interesting point
management,
earlier.
insurance salesman.
Yeah. So, Cheryl, you made a very interesting point earlier, which was you took a lot of risk before. We saw that as well. We saw and it's a complete shift from what we see today. Like people want bigger projects, more unique, newer ideas, but the capacity to take risk has completely dropped. And that's
Right, you
consistent
want
with
the
what
big
you're saying.
idea, but you're not willing to take the risk. That is
Yeah.
contradictory, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and by the way, nothing middle has ever popped. Nothing when you think you're staying in the lane has ever popped. Okay.
Mm.
Only one flavor is vanilla. The rest of them mix it up.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, people wonder, yeah, how Steve Jobs is a great example of somebody. He won round barefoot. A lot of people thought he was crazy. He was like, I'm going to fucking show you. Excuse my language.
No, go for it.
Like, I'm going to show you. Kind of that's been my attitude. I'll just show you. We'll just show you. Enough talking. If you're not in, but by moving on. And, someday you'll be on the gravy train or not. But a visionary is somebody who's willing to stick with their vision, listen to collaborative ideas to yes and it and make it better, and also keep going and persevere.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's a lot of fraidy cats out there. There are,
Yeah,
we are talking about, and look, it's, there's a political environment in the US, but there's politics everywhere that's going on. Right now, it's the world is in a place of trying to figure out where we are for next generations.
yeah. And Cheryl, what is now your biggest concern, biggest priority, and what's screaming at you right now?
I'll use the word education, but when I say education, it's workforce development, it's training, it's human relationships. And if using technology can help provide real, real attainable ways that have an impact, that I think is I just keep going back to that, and I hope I'm not sounding like a broken record, but I think using technology for better understanding. And then when you have better understanding of something, you are able to make your next indicated action be a more impactful one. So that's where, whether it starts in K through 12, whether it goes through higher ed, whether it goes through training in, you know, or being every year, financial advisors get trained. Okay. They have to take a new test. So it doesn't matter what your field is. And I think when we first started talking, I was telling you the University of Michigan's head of pediatric medicine told me how all of his kids that come into his medical school tell them, he says they tell him, I was in AP courses. And then they come in and they need to make an incision. And if they make a mistake, they're ready to drop out because they grew up thinking they get a prize for every time they do well. And instead of like, no, you made a mistake, get back in there. So using technology to help retrain the brain to say, don't self-sabotage, get back in there. Yeah, that that is what makes me high. That is
Mm,
what we do, and we do really well. And so in wanting to do that in as many very impactful fields as we can, that's where I'd like to see us continue to head.
absolutely. Cheryl, in terms of building that new direction as well, and growth, what's something that you've tried before and may not have worked? Just for one, dealing with those lead investors, and two, generating revenue and growth in the business.
I would say a lot of people forget and probably for us as well, marketing dollars are just as valuable as building the technology itself. And
Yeah,
if you don't get the messaging out properly, you can have all the white papers in the world and prove the impact that you've made. But if it's not out there to the masses, marketing and advertising dollars and doing it right, okay? Not just having a billboard that has your logo on it. It has to it has to be messaging that talks about your mission. It has to be messaging that shows what differentiates you,
yeah,
and that goes back to the storytelling part of it also. So it's not just storytelling in what products you create, it's storytelling in the company that you're building as well.
yeah. Cheryl, allow me to just coming to an end here. If you had a magic wand, you could give it a big Disney whoosh, let the genie out. What would that one thing be that you'd try to solve with having the right marketing budget there in place and the right messaging in place? What would that allow you to solve? What would that one thing be?
The one thing would be that, well, we're finishing building our platform that will get the message out that you can do this and we can help give you the guardrails that you can do this yourself and make that kind of impact so that it is a out, consumer sourced. You can use the products as well and create impactful technology with the data that you need to help you create something too. I want to make it
Right,
so
and
everybody can use it.
yeah, absolutely. Who are you speaking to when you say everyone can use it? And
You work in any field, you can be able to figure out how to use it. You know how there's like computer books for dummies? Well, to use you want to create something. There's a company called Unity that is a game platform and you can create things. So that you can create the mixture. We have the recipe for the mixture that you can create and actually create something that just won't be throwing spaghetti up against the wall.
thank you so much, Cheryl. This has been lovely. Thank you for sharing how to beat that unfamiliarity, how to create impactful products and really connect with your employees and then in turn connect with your consumers. This has been lovely.
Thank you so much. Really a pleasure. Have a wonderful day.